Going! Going! Run! 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 Over. Do you like that?
Looking back on it, Fred Dibnah, the boat and steeplejack, reckoned the time after his divorce the worst in his life.
Like, living here all alone weren't much fun, really. I'd come home and put my pie in the oven and put the kettle on and watch a bit of the news and try and keep the time for going to the pub as late as possible. More often than not, it ended up like somewhere around about 8 o'clock and rolled down the pub and joined the other divorced characters in a similar situation. I soon realised that you couldn't go on like that forever, or you would become just another bloke who props the bar up down the pub, you know. Not a lot to show for your life here on this planet.
Then Sue arrived.
Hi.
A social worker, ready to take an intelligent interest in Fred's backyard steam workshop.
My mechanical hammer. What he does then, we have the drill. All the automatic, that. Yeah, that's the shape of that. That's where we are. Iron. Just my wonderful steam engine thing. Yeah, it's a bit mucked up at present. We've not cleaned it for a month or two, you know. Yeah, come on.
I first met Fred at a big steam rally in Cheshire. It was in the middle of all the divorce problems and everything. And Fred was, in fact, very drunk. He looked awful. He was sad and miserable, quite a pathetic sort of figure, really. None of the bounce that people sort of knew him for. Anyway, he invited us to a big chimney felling, and it was the one at Oldham, the one that he nearly brought down on the top of all of us.
Did you work your camera?
Well done. Congratulations.
Shortly after that, Fred rang me up and asked me if I would like to go out with him to give him a bit of support, I think, because he was going to Halifax to talk to the Fred Dibnah Appreciation Society, which, when we arrived at this little pub in Halifax, there were lots of men all sort of similar to Fred, all wearing flat caps and smoking woodbines.
I remember waking up in the middle of the night to a terrible row, and the landlord and the landlady, everybody were hopelessly drunk at the end of the evening, and the landlord and the landlady were actually throwing things at each other, and the projectiles were going through windows downstairs. Sounded like there were a bloody war on, you know. And when we got up there, all the windows were broke, you know, down below. Yeah, I'll never forget that as long as I live.
They married, and in 1987 their first son was born.
You know, having learned, like, that my new wife were pregnant, the first sort of worry were, would I be a proper father, as you might say. But anyway, little Jack plopped out, beautiful, you know, in good nick and everything. And he's turned out to be quite an exciting little fella who likes more or less everything I do. You can't do it, Fred. Oh, right. Well, where do you want to go now? Right, this vicar friend of mine at Kirby Malham, he had a problem with his flagpole, like, and we went over to fix him up a new flagpole, and while we were there, he said, what about one of these weathercocks, like, you know? So I said, well, OK, do your deal. We'll make you weathercock if you'll christen little lad, you know, in his 800-year-old font, which, of course, he did. But while we were there also, we were engaged in fixing a lightning conductor, and when we were digging for the earthing strip, we ended up digging up somebody's bones, you know. So we had a reinterment ceremony. I don't know who we were. I don't know, Oliver Cromwell had been there, so it's a pretty old church, you know.
Fred had some really bad traits when I first met him. He was terribly self-centred and thoughtless. And a silly example is he would go into the pub and we'd be with a group of people and he wouldn't buy around. He was so busy talking about himself that he wouldn't get his money out and buy around, and I used to feel so angry with him. The other things that really sort of upset me, because I could see that they were damaging him, were his bad habits of drinking and smoking. And I eventually persuaded him to cut down on his smoking, and of Fred's own free will he said, I'm going to give up. And to encourage him and support him, I bought him presents for weeks every day that he didn't smoke.
And then he had a relapse. I went to look at a chimney stack at Great Harwood near Blackburn, and the demolition man got out of his car and he got two in his mouth and one of them American flamethrower lighters and he lit them, and before I knew it, I had the thing in between my lips. And I thought, I shouldn't be doing this, you know. And anyway, I thought, I might as well smoke the damn thing now. This will definitely be my last cigarette. And when I came home at tea time, I said to Sue, like, I said, you know, I have had a smoke today, you know, and I explained the tale. Like, very upset, you see. And from that day to this, I've never had a cigarette. I think I am a slightly reformed character from what I used to be.
Oh, look at these swanky gates. Aren't they posh?
Yeah, aren't they nice? Beautiful.
Yeah, he's making it all into yuppie houses, you see.
It's a beautiful...
chimneys round back, like, through all that mud.
Why? How tall is it?
We worked it out yesterday, me and Donald. It's about 100... Sorry, me and Neil. It's about 100 feet high, I think.
Watch out, look at the lightning conductor going right to the top.
You're right, Cock. Oh, yeah, stick it in that corner there, and then we'll go and do the honours. You get up the hill with Jack. Don't ruin the... That's it, right, we have it. Now, you get up the hill and wave it to us.
Jack, look at those cows over there. What do you think they're going to think when the chimney falls down? Do you think they're going... I think they'll be very surprised, don't you? They don't really know what's happening. Look, they keep looking at the fire.
Want to smoke for the last time, John?
Yeah, we went to the first chimney when he was about 18 months old, the first chimney that he really knew what was happening. And he watched the chimney fall down, and as it hit the ground, he just said, "It's all gone," and started crying. And we went back to the house, and we had a few people, and somebody amongst them had a video camera, and we ran the video back onto the television, and he was so upset, and Fred was so proud of him. He said, he's like me, he hates destruction.
Didn't have time to blow the hooter.
It fell down, Fred. It happened in December.
Yeah.
In the blizzard.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it went straight into a snowdrift at the foot of the tower. So
Here
here you are.
You'd had a lucky escape then,
It was a lucky escape.
It's knocked it a bit out of shape.
Good shape, not too bad, is it?
Well, nobody will notice that up there, will they, you know?
No, not at all.
Right, Neil. I'll send the rope down after.
It's Fred!
Hello there.
Cock-a-doodle! Cock-a-doodle! Cock-a-doodle, cock-a-doodle. Mummy cock-a-doodle.
Come on, Roger.
A second son, Roger, was born in 1991, letting Fred in for another year or two of morning marches to the nursery.
He doesn't bother me at all, shoving this guy about. He's ever such a pleasant little chap, really. He doesn't complain about anything. The only time he ever cries is when he's hungry, which is a natural sort of thing to do. Roger is very similar to what I were when I was little. Pleasant little fellow, just went off later on in life. I'm sometimes taken as the granddad. That is a bit embarrassing when they say, are these your grandchildren? See how they buggery, they're mine, you know. I'm still in good condition, still a breedable quality. Yeah then.
Hello,
Here he is. I don't know whether you want to stay or not.
Oh, he will, won't he? Yeah, we're going to take your coat off. We're going to play and all
Your
these
mum's
little
coming
girls.
for you at tea time. I'm going before it starts squeaking.
Right.
It's a long time now since Fred himself first went to school in the ragged days of the 1940s. The war was on. Food rationed. Everything wearing out. A cold and dreary time, but warmed and brightened forever in Fred's memory by a gift from an old man, a beautiful model steam engine.
One Sunday evening, I remember having it in the parlour on a card table, and it was whizzing round, and in a vain attempt to, like, get more power out of it, I wedged on the safety valves a die-cast dinky toy car that had the effect of holding the dead weight safety valve down, you see. And the whole thing were going like a bat out of hell. All the table was shaking. Mother and father are in the kitchen listening to the Albert Sandler's Palm Court Hotel. It's 8:30 Sunday night. Bloody great bang, and the dinky toy blasted off up into the sky and stuck in the parlour ceiling, followed by a big plume of boiling water. all these globules of water dripping off the parlour ceiling onto the couch. Best shiny table in the middle of the parlour. Didn't have long to wait before Mother arrived, you know, and a great bollocking like for mucking up the ceiling, you know. And we had a patch on there for years after, a little piece of paper stuck over the dinge in the plaster. Introduction to being a steam engine owner. Ah, whereabouts do you come from?
I'm coming from Germany.
Now in his mid-50s, Fred had become a man of some fame, and his workshop a place of pilgrimage.
Yes, of course. I was lucky enough to find 2 steamrollers. I've got a Rutemeyer and a Zettelmeyer.
Ah, great, yeah. Have you had to spend a lot of money, like, or have you...
Not a lot of money. You know, it was very cheap to buy it compared to English prices here.
Yeah,
the steamrollers very expensive.
Gone a bit daft, I only gave 170 quid for that one, but it's 20 odd years ago. Like now, they've gone berserk, haven't they?
Yeah, it's becoming sort of some sort of tourist attraction, this here garden, you know. We get all sorts of people round and you know, coming to have a look sort of thing. A few weeks ago, we had some American visitors who professed to be like American steeplejacks. And they set bloody fire to the carpet in the parlour, you know. Like, what happened were they brought their own sort of video company with them to do this interview of, you know, the Americans interviewing me as an English sort of eccentric steeplejack. And of course, all their tattle were a different voltage or something than ours, and they're supposed to have some sort of adapter. Anyway, they plugged all this garbage into my electrical system, and we've been at it for half an hour, when all of a sudden there were the most unbelievable explosion and molten glass flying all over the parlour. The bloody carpet's on fire. Anyway, we did well out of that. We got a new carpet.
What did your family think of your job?
Mother didn't like it at all, didn't she? She wanted me to work in an office. Yeah. Next question.
Right, what part of your job do you enjoy best?
Putting the ladders up, I think, you know. Putting them red ladders up the side.
What are you doing with Gilner Mill?
Oh, well, it's in the very olden days, before your school were even built, there were 2 big chimneys where your school were. And it's a rather exciting story. I sort of knocked the wrong one down.
You start on that side. There's a good lad. You have to rub a bit harder than that, Jack.
Jack, the elder son, was now 4 and making satisfactory progress in his education.
Dad, I see some sign of rust.
No sign of rust. That's very good, Jack.
I see some sign of rust.
Oh. Like Jack, he's a damn nuisance round here, like, you know. So he's out in his way, he's trying to give me a lift. But of course, if I put the spanner down, it disappears round the corner, you know, and right, so, you know, all sorts of weird things happen. You know, he's had it, but he's got such a good memory that you knew he had it, like, last weekend. It's amazing. You saw him with it in his hand last weekend, and if you say, like, where's that big lump of iron with 3 holes in, or something like that, he'll go straight to it and find it. He has one bad fault, though. He likes digging holes, and especially when it's raining, you know, there's bloody holes everywhere, all full of water, you know. I think he's a frustrated coal miner or something.
Fred's actually sort of succumbed to a bit of domesticity, is that the right word? If I ask him to hoover, then he likes hoovering because he makes a super job of it. He does much better than I do, you know, he gets under all the corners, and because he's a perfectionist, things like that are very good. And all the brass work's his responsibility, he does all that. And window cleaning, I never ever clean windows because Fred does them all. He loves twinkly windows. The things I wouldn't ask him to do, I wouldn't ask him to change the baby's nappy just because poor Roger wouldn't like to be subjected to be stood on his head, which I think is how Fred would tattle the job.
Some things have changed a bit, you know. I've got more of an upmarket wardrobe now than I used to have. Instead of one suit with a waistcoat and various pairs of jeans, I've now got a grand selection of pullovers and cardigans and 2 pairs of shoes, in fact, and various caps for doing various things in, you know, appearing in public in posh caps, going to work in dirty caps, you know. I have a wash more now than I used to do, you know. I have a shower every night.
A few years ago, way before I was married, I would have expected my husband to sort of do a lot more than Fred does in the house. But I never envisaged the sort of lifestyle that I'm leading now. The general consensus about this sort of sharing things in the home, I think, doesn't really hold for much when a person like Fred, who is doing a very hard job, comes home cold and wet. You know, he's been out really grafting hard all day. You know, sometimes he'll come home and he'll have busted his thumb because he's hit it with a hammer and all this. You couldn't really expect him to come in and then start doing things in the house. I just don't think it's fair. I think you've got to strike a balance, and I think ours is about 90-10. Me for 90% housework and Fred for 10.
Hi, Fred.
Ah, good morning.
All right.
Oh, not so bad. We've got the, you know, the ironwork up, as you can see, you know, and it'll sort of, all them iron rods round and the castings will, you know, stop any cracks going any worse.
Good. How long do you think you'll be yet before you finish?
Oh, I'll give it about another fortnight, because we need the ladders. We've got to go off to Cambridge, you see. Moving on. It's Fred Dibnah International now, you know, we get about a bit. You're not doing it right, wait a minute. Basically, I'm still like a Victorian, this feministic sort of outlook, you know, I don't think you can really escape from it, but the Victorians, really, I mean, there were more of them sort of working for a living, weren't there, then, than what there is now, and the ladies' place were to be at home, you know, getting the tea ready at tea time, and all, and like now, when there's half at buggers come home now, and they have to get their own teas, don't they, you know, these, I'm just come home from the office, darling, you know, cook your teas in the oven, I'm going out to the, you know, to the bingo or something like that. You know, it's a weird situation now, you know. It's a bit, I don't know, a bit like the end of the Roman Empire, innit? You know, like they all either turned homosexual and went queer and went into a great nation of pleasure seeking after they retracted back to Rome from all over the world. You know, learned us how to have baths and underwater floor eating and all that sort of thing, and then they went bloody bad, and now, like, they make racing cars and washing machines, don't they? You know, it's like the end of the road. I think we've had our day, really. I don't want to appear to be a sort of a diehard type person, but, like, if you think about England, you know, the perfecting of the steam engine in, you know, 1700s, early 1800s, made England lead the world in engineering from about 1790 odd to about 1914, and I think ever since then we've been going a bit down brood.
The prickly tree down. You ready? Do you know what we've got to sing? What do we sing?
I don't know.
Of course you know, ready? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Daddy. Happy birthday to you. Throw the candle out now.
Oh, right.
Come on then. Ready? Do you feel a lot older today now you're 54?
No, it's better than being 55. Oh, you shut up.
I don't really think this is you.
No.
Like
It's very ridiculous.
looks like a dress.
There's no way I'm wearing that, you know. No. I don't really want one of them, it's not my style, you know.
See, look, some nice
Well, leave it
towels.
there, it looks like a bilious attack, you know. I don't want any of them.
Oh, just your colours. Oh, very nice. Very modern.
No, I don't want. How about I'll stick to my long johns, I think.
Right, come on, let's have a look.
Where's the jackets department?
Let's have a look over here. Have a look at these.
They're all too light a colour, you know. That's all right, like, but
I
it's,
like that one.
yeah, if it were dark blue or something like that.
Yeah, it needs to.
Could I help you at all there, sir?
Yeah, well,
okay.
Well, I'm not looking. My wife's looking for a jacket.
That's for a nice sports jacket.
Yeah, sports jacket, but it needs to have some blues in it. About a
this,
42, 44 chest.
44 short, yeah.
Yeah.
This slipped down a bit, though.
Best thing we can do, if you don't mind, is slip your jumper off.
Oh, yes.
And we'll try you a couple on.
Oh.
Right.
All right, okay. Just pop something like this one now.
put my cap back on.
It's like a turquoise and black, you know.
I don't really think it's appropriate to keep your cap on while you're trying a nice jacket on.
It's okay, we get all sorts in here. It's quite alright.
Oh, Fred.
No. How does that feel? Is that comfortable?
It's all right, but it's too light. I'm glowing like a Belushi beacon, you know. It's got to be very dark.
So you want something
a bit more sober, not quite as good. The
wouldn't last above 5 minutes, this.
No.
And a bit thicker stuff as well.
The problem is now, you know, you're coming into summer.
Oh, yeah.
Everything's lighter, colour and weight, you see.
I'm very old-fashioned, you see.
Well, I've noticed, actually, but, you know, I didn't like to say anything.
Let's have a look at some caps here. Have a look what size. There, take that dirty one off. That's it. Let's have a look.
Yeah, too big, that, you know. I rather like my oily cap. It has a smell all of its own. I've been in various pubs and people have said to me, what's the flash point of your cap, you know? I know that when I'm doing a bit of blacksmithing, occasionally I take it off and I get hold of some hot iron and it sets on fire, you know, so much oil in it. I think it's really a replacement for her. If I go on my holidays or out and I haven't got my cap, you know, I feel as though somebody shaved all top of my head. On, I think, about 2 or 3 occasions, I've been so inebriated after days out with this load of old iron that I've actually ended up in bed with it on.
One day at work, Fred's cherished cap rounded on him. It was like being savaged by a trusted dog.
I've had a bad do with my head, you know. I got all, come out in all red blotches day before yesterday, and I don't know what it were. Me and the wife were in the building society drawing £2,000 out to pay the income tax. And I don't know whether it was a shock of getting the money out or what, but all of a sudden I come over faint and very hot and flustered. And I said, you know, and she said, oh, you're worrying about the money too much, you know. Came home on a stiff whiskey, come to bed like, she sent for the dad, we're going worse, you know, all these red blotches all over the top of my bald head. Doctor arrived and he said, you've got scapular capiitis or something like that. And I thought, I must have caught it off my cap the other day. It fell off and landed in a puddle of water on top of this spinning mill full of dead pigeons and all sorts of horrible stuff. Put it back on when it was still, I'd wrung it out like and put it back on, you know. By dinner time it was dry and I'd forgotten all about it, you see. And apparently the doctor said some sort of germ had got in a scratch that were on my bald head and gone underneath my skin. And apparently, if it gets round to your eye holes, it makes you blind anyway. Give me a load of potions and medicine and all, and luckily it stopped before it got there. So I still feel a bit groggy, but I'm on the mend, definitely, you know, definitely.